being after 8 o'clock, I'll call this meeting of the Municipal Building Committee to order for June 5th, 2024. First thing is we have public forum. We have a number of people here. Does anybody want to address the Municipal Building Committee? Seeing none. Next thing is review and approve of past meeting minutes from May 1st, 2024.
I'll move the minutes, Al.
Peter moves the minutes.
Second.
Second, Ian. Do we have any comments or anything? Okay. None. Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, new business, the golf club building. I guess, Jim, I'll turn this over to you.
I'll move.
Or Tyler? Tyler is on Zoom here also. Tyler?
I am, yep.
Did you want to make any comments about the what took place with the golf?
Just based on the tech here, I'll have the other gentleman speak for us.
Okay.
All right, that's Jim.
So we put the feasibility study out for bid. We ended up with 5 companies that ended up bidding on it. Rod, myself, and Tyler narrowed it down to 3. Basically, we all looked at it individually, apart from each other, and then we met on a meeting. I was away, and when I came back, we had a meeting and discussed it. It was a phone meeting. It wasn't in person, and we discussed everybody's results, and we pretty much unanimously had picked the 3 that we narrowed it down to. So those companies are going to be here today to go over their, put a presentation and go over what they did, and I think that all 3 companies, seem to be, Shab called everybody's references, and all the references checked out, and they all seem to be highly qualified for this. All 3 companies have done golf courses and restaurants before in different parts of Massachusetts and Connecticut and Rhode Island. So I think that, I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to say.
Do we have a time frame of what time they're coming in?
Yeah, I think we have, it's not on the agenda. I think the first one was
8:10, and then half an hour, 20 minutes for presentation, 10 minutes for questions, and then 10 minutes between each one after that.
Okay. Well,
So,
okay. Is that pretty much your presentation, Jim?
That's pretty much it until they, the companies show up.
Right, it's now 8:10. Do we have the first bidder? Nothing yet? Are they supposed to meet you downstairs or anything?
I don't believe so, but I should probably go down and talk to town clerk's office, because that's typically where everyone goes,
Okay.
and send them up.
I think Jen just went down.
Do we have a list of those to hand out to us?
Yeah, I don't know why it's not on
That didn't make on the agenda.
the agenda. We
so
do have-
there's three firms. First is Smook Associates, who's here in Westborough. Second one is BFE, and the third one is RGB.
RGB, that was the third.
There were, just to kind of elaborate a little bit on what Jim said, there was specific criteria that we measured each one of them. Quality and depth of experience, technical approach, qualifications of proposer, references, and cost. And I would say all the costs of the 3 were within 10%, so I don't see that being a big issue. The references, as Jim said, shop checked those all checked out. So I think it's really, the opportunity today is to meet the people who would be working on the project, understand their approach and their ability to meet our goals, and then, I think once we have met with all 3, we can talk amongst ourselves and hopefully make a decision today.
That's great.
Yep.
Jen's still downstairs. We'll just wait for Jen to come back up now. I think she was gonna go see if anybody was downstairs.
They're sitting down the road.
Yeah,
Traffic's backed up.
yeah, I see the water main
Yes.
people are doing their work
Yeah.
down there.
Cleaning, yep, or relining, whatever.
Well, while we're waiting, Chief Purcell, did you want to talk about what's going on with the communication center?
Morning. Patrick Purcell, serving as your fire chief. Thanks for having me. Just wanted to come in today and provide an update as far as 20 Phillips Street, the regional emergency communications center. We went through a procurement process for an OPM. We have awarded that contract. We have a signed contract back from Collier's Construction. We're going to be moving forward to establish a kickoff meeting. That email chain is in the works right now. When that kickoff meeting is scheduled, we will certainly let the chair of the board know, and we would love it if you could attend. And hopefully things start picking up the pace now as we transition to find an architect and go through that procurement process. But I think we have our feet under us finally, and we're starting to move forward with this project pretty quick.
That's great.
Thanks.
Any questions for Chief?
And Chief, this is all covered under the grant?
Yeah, 100% covered under the state 911 grant. We have funding for about the first third right now, up to it's just shy of $5 million, and we have about $8+ million. It was probably around 8, but probably more than that now, hanging out there for the balance of the OPM and a lot of technology.
Is this a reimbursable grant from the state, or is?
Yes. So we can reimburse regularly. So it depends how our billing comes in. If it's net 30, net 45, et cetera, we'll pay that, submit the reimbursement immediately, and they usually have 2-week or so turnaround time.
Okay, so the town doesn't have to front any money on this?
No, we're the fiduciary for it, but no, we're not paying for any of the project associated to that.
I think that's
pretty
important
much
for the public to know too, that, this is all funded by the state, so
Sure. Yep.
there's no cost to the town.
State 911 has a robust grant program there. They are just for the it's called a development grant, and they fund about $40 million in projects annually. So we're in that tier, and where we've already been funded for the first portion, it's pretty much a guarantee. They don't want to fund half of a project, so they'll be funding the second half.
I believe a lot of this money comes from the surcharges on your
Yes,
cell phone bill every month.
that's correct.
May I?
Chief?
What is our role in that
Can you just
project?
talk into the microphone too, just because for folks on the Zoom?
Somebody wants to hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, wow. I just wondered what our role really is in this, because it's a project that's kind of outside of town, but not outside of town, if you know what I mean.
I'm pretty sure, we've been asked by the select board just to oversee the project, so I think what we'll do is similar to what we did with all the other projects, is the OPM will come in each month at our meeting and present to us what's going on, and I believe we will be the group that will be authorizing the payments for each one of the projects as
Okay,
proceeds.
that was what I was getting at.
Actually, sorry,
Yes.
Al, this is Christy.
Go ahead, Christie.
Okay, sorry. So we were bringing it to the municipal building committee so that we could keep the community apprised of what's going on and to have your input. But the actual authorization for all of this work is through the Metro West Rec, which is essentially the towns of Westborough and Grafton. So we've asked your committee to play a role and to offer guidance and expertise, but the actual payment and things like that and authorizations are through the district.
Okay. That's even better.
Yeah.
No, I was just curious what kind of authority we have over the project.
Right.
If we're going to vote to authorize payments, then we should know what's going on behind the scenes.
But I think
You're not going to vote to authorize payments.
we will not be authorizing the payments. That will be through their committee.
So we're just getting,
Okay, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
How much control comes to us.
Right.
And if it's just as a capacity to look, but not have to
Right.
really say anything.
If I could, just under Massachusetts General Law 6A, we're establishing a separate district, so it's going to operate as its own entity, and that district will eventually, when we hire an executive director, take over the responsibilities that I've been assuming right now, and they will be designing their own center. And
Yeah, I mean, I know we've talked a lot about this before, but I just want to make sure we really don't, other than overlook the project a little bit.
Right.
But we also felt that was important
Peter,
because we still, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it's really purely an advisory role. So it's different than the other roles that you've taken with other projects, but it's really advisory.
Okay,
Excellent.
all right, that's great, Christie, thank you, Chief.
Oh, thanks.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. Okay, I think we have the
So there
first.
was a mix-up. Evidently, people were told it was at the Forbes building, so Smook Associates is
Oh, okay.
here, and I think they're next on our
Okay.
agenda.
All right, I guess we're all set then, if you want to do your presentation?
So Clay, if you want to come up and introduce yourself. Sorry for the confusion, but the way, this is the Municipal Building Committee who will be making the selection. We've narrowed it down to 3 finalists. You're the first to present. We have 20 minutes for you to talk about your qualifications and your approach, and then we've left 10 minutes for questions.
Sure.
So if you
One
could
of
just
these is
introduce
on.
yourself and your...
Yes,
Your
hi.
team.
My name is Clay Smook. I'm an architect, Smook Architecture, which is located on Lyman Street. I'm here with Patrice Patino. She's part of my team. Thought this was going to be a little bit more informal, not necessarily the whole thing. I put together this this book. Hopefully, there were 3 copies that were sent. I'm not sure how many people have actually seen it or not.
So just to give you the background, we had a selection team of 3 people who reviewed it and did the finalists. And then the rest of the group here has not seen your proposal, so.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, I'll leave you one book, and you can pass this around if you'd like. I have another one here with me, which I will.
I've got one as well.
I'm sorry. I would have assumed that you had seen it, or I would have put together an entire PowerPoint presentation. I just was trying to be expeditious. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I founded the firm 20 years ago. I was located in downtown Boston. My background is really quite diverse, which is, it's unusual. I mean, I'm not a generalist. I just had a lot of specific experiences. My background is both in architecture and in urban design. What does that mean to the way I practice architecture really is I really look at the way buildings work within their environments. So they're not objects that are just placed somewhere dropped in a field. They're inspired, and they are informed by the space around them. You know, to me, people often ask me, I'll run into people and say, what do you do for work? And I'll say I'm an architect, and they'll think I draw buildings. I actually don't draw buildings. Architecture is really about storytelling. Really, I'll meet people and they'll say, well, I really don't know much about architecture. And the truth of the matter is we generally get a sense of what good architecture is when we see it. If it somehow inspires us and it speaks to us, we know that it's good. And anyway, with that being said, I founded the firm 20 years ago. And we've done quite a bit of work here in Westborough. I relocated here to Westborough 10 years ago, really for lifestyle change, tired of commuting into Boston every day. I finally decided that I was getting too old for that. So the other reason I really relocated to Westborough is I really felt like I wanted to bring Class A architectural and urban design services to the Metro West area so that communities in Metro West and further west, we're not going to need to commute all the way into Boston to get those really quality services. So, one of the reasons I put together this book, and part of it was, when I went to respond to the RFP, the entire thing was going to be submitted digitally. And I had mentioned to the person administering this that, you should really ask for a physical document, because I think so much can be gleaned by the way people put things together. How you put a document together is just as thoughtful as how you put a building together. So that said, I want to talk about really why we feel like we are the best selection for this project. As I said, our background in architecture, specifically in areas similar to this, we've done a tremendous amount of work in commercial architecture, clubhouse design, New England vernacular architecture design, retail design. This sort of brings it all together. So we feel that when you look through our list of qualifications, there are a number of buildings that are very, very similar to the one we're talking about here, and we feel like they're a good reference to informing how we might proceed on a project like this. You know, in New England, it's really interesting. There's a book called Big House, Little House, Back House, Barn, and it really talks about how residential buildings, but buildings in New England grow over time. It's very unique. It's not something you'll see in California. And usually it starts with the big house. That's the main house, just like this. There was an original house. And then over time, it builds out. They put saddlebags on it. They put the barn on the back. They connect it. And that's literally what we're looking at here at the existing building. And I think that whether you keep the existing building or you decide to build a new building, I think having a building that embodies that spirit is very, very important. So the understanding of historic precedents, historic fabric within the city. I mean, one of the things that this book does, and we put it together, is we went through and we found all historic images of downtown and surrounding area of Westborough, and how those buildings that either exist today or may have been demolished may inform a future design building. So the next thing I think I wanted to go through is really to understand that, you know, there's so many individual pieces in terms of really evaluating a building like this, and we put together a team of professionals who can work with us on this project. We have a mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers who we've worked with on large and small projects. They'll be informing us and working out a narrative that will work into the cost estimation. We have a professional cost estimator who will give us, you know, real-time numbers. I think it's really important in this post-COVID environment that we look at numbers that are what you're finding on the street right now, which I have to say at times can be a little bit shocking. The old days of saying, well, we're going to build a shelf for $150 a square foot. You're just not seeing those kinds of numbers anymore. And on top of that, when you overlay new code requirements, Massachusetts Energy Code, et cetera, you're becoming, what you're learning is it's no longer just simple 2x6, sheathe it, side it, and go with it. You're ending up with a very, very energy efficient envelope, but to do that is going to cost dollars. So when you couple that with just the inflation that we all see, I mean, a tuna fish sandwich at Panera Bread is like $20 now, so I think we get the sense of what that is. So just want to highlight a couple of projects, and again, hopefully you'll have a chance to take a look at these. There's a project, we've done a lot of work at the Pine Hills. The Pine Hills is a planned community in Plymouth. It was originally owned by Digital Corporation. It was bought by New England Development. They came in, put about $50 million in of infrastructure, really working with the existing terrain, put the roads in. We've done a number of commercial and residential buildings there. One of the buildings that's in this proposal that we worked on was a building called the Rye Tavern. The Rye Tavern is one of the oldest taverns in the United States, and it lies in Plymouth off of a road called Old Sandwich Road, which is partially unpaved and still remains partially unpaved. Rye Tavern, that building came with the property. They did a wholesale renovation of the existing building to create a first-class restaurant in there, along with a sort of bar element, which really draws people from Plymouth and beyond. So the idea of having a full-service restaurant within an existing building that used to be a residential building, as I know you've seen the challenges here, we've had to deal with that, handicap accessibility, toilets, parking, that whole thing. So that project alone is very, very much tied into what we're doing here. Closer to home, we've worked on historic buildings. Deborah Penta Communications on Turnpike Road. I've known Deborah for probably 20 years. We worked with her when she purchased that building. It was a little long in the tooth. She really revived that building and brought it back and repositioned it as a Class A office space. Just gorgeous, really suiting a worldwide communications company. Other projects we talk about that are in here is called the Stonebridge Club, which is also another space. It's an 8,000 square foot building at the Pine Hills. Again, you know, when you build these buildings like you're talking about building, a good example is what you see on East Main Street. A lot of times people will come in and they'll basically build home buildings and turn them into offices. I find that those often are very challenging. They look like houses. They tend to be raised off the ground. There are accessibility problems. We worked with a local business owner, Mr. Archieri, to develop 85 East Main Street, which is a brick-faced building. And it's shown in this document as well. It was really a fantastic project. It lies in the downtown district. We worked extensively with the planning board on that, as well as Jim Robbins. On really, Jim wrote me an email when it was done, and he said, you know, this was just an absolute pleasure, because it was the ability of working on with almost a public-private partnership, in that we really stitched the important pieces to the town with the important parts of the developer. And one last thing that I just wanted to talk about in this. There are going to be a lot of stakeholders on a project like this, and I've sort of worked in every sort of different capacity. I was the chairman of the Library Building Committee in Shrewsbury. We did a $34 million renovation and addition to the library in Shrewsbury. I was the chairman of that committee. I worked on your side of the fence. I understand the way that works. We've worked on the private developer side. Many of our projects are private developments. We need to understand what drives the dollars, how to be most efficient with our designs, so that we can create a design that's both beautiful yet affordable. And then we've worked on the private client side, which is a totally different perspective, and sometimes money is an issue, sometimes it's not, but we sort of understand all those pieces. So more than happy to take any questions. I hope I covered most of the major issues, and if you have a chance, if you can pass this around. I think this document, to me, really speaks about the kind of product that we create in the end, and that's why we put it together. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Thank you, Clay. If you could explain a little bit about your approach to this project and what you think the key challenges might be, and what you think of the time frame in terms of being able to complete it by the middle of September, which is our goal.
Sure. First of all, I think it's a reasonable amount of time to do this project. Of course, so much of these types of projects is less about the piece that I'm going to do, is more about the feedback that I'm going to get for the various committees. We find that these typically the way we work on projects is we will meet our client, and within 3 weeks we will have a primary meeting with the client to go over the evaluation, and then go over our initial recommendations or initial studies. And we then try to meet every other week pretty religiously. Of course, it varies in public and private forums, but we try to really drive the process. So I find that your date of September, to me, keeping a hard date like that is a good thing. And we're more than happy to be the people who drive it. We're working with the town of Boxford on affordable housing, and it was interesting because we had a very, very tight time frame, and we've driven it. But I will tell you, as I said, these things when you're dealing with boards and there are other stakeholders and parties, it's dragged on. We're into a year and a half. I mean, we were basically done, but you know, I can only control my ability to drive it. In terms of this building, as you know, it's a very difficult building in that the systems are very difficult. There are issues with the plumbing, the septic. I think we were down in the basement doing some exploratory work, which was quite entertaining. The electrical system. So at the end of the day, to me, it does look like, as you know, it's going to be a gut project. I mean, when you look at a project like this, the problem becomes renovations are just really, really expensive. And when you get into a project like this, where you're going to start hitting major triggers, regulatory triggers for accessibility, for energy efficiency, for other building code things, you're going to be finding that it's harder to control costs on renovations than it is on a scrape and a new building. Now, I don't want to get ahead of my skis here and say, well, we're just going to do a new building. I will say that the way I look at this, probably from an adaptive reuse perspective, which is reusing part of the existing building or the entire existing building, I would see most likely using pieces of the existing building. Certain areas just are not as well built or feel like they're going to create the kind of space that you want to create for a restaurant environment. So I could see keeping maybe the core element, the existing big house, and then talking about how we might build around it. I think the biggest issue really becomes modern day systems. If I was going to build a restaurant or any retail space from scratch, it's going to be a great entry. You're not going to be ascending any elevations to get into the building. You're going to have a clear ceiling height of 10, 12 feet with a plenum space above it, so you're probably going to be, to the top of the roof's probably going to be in the neighborhood of 16 feet maybe. So you're going to have structure, you're going to have plenum space, you're going to have adequate ceiling height. So it does come with its challenges. I do think that the existing house within the body of the project is probably worth saving or at least replicating. Let's just say that. The answer may be at the end of the day to replicate it. So I'm not sure if that answers it, but that's my gut reaction on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I do.
Earl?
I thought that it was voted on unanimously from the people that did the study committee, which did a great job on the building, and then brought it before the selectmen, and the DPW director who brought it to the selectmen, and it was a unanimous vote that we were gonna take that building down. I don't see us, I mean, are we gonna look at reviving that building or what? I mean, to me, it just seems senseless. There's so much unknown under that building. A stone foundation and plumbing, it's just, I mean, Jimmy's the head of building and grounds. He knows it inside and out. And I don't think we should be wasting any of our time on talking about saving that building. I think we need to have a nice, new, efficient building, much more affordable, I think, after you get it demoed and done, with just all the updates of everything that the building code's gonna bring to us, you know, instead of retrofitting anything now. Ian, can you answer that for me?
I can, and Christie definitely jump in. I mean, I think, yeah, the recommendation that came from the committee was that they felt that it should, and the recommendation to the select board was to demolish it and do a new build for a restaurant clubhouse design. So that was presented to the board. I think what came out of that was this request there's been a lot of questions around it. So the piece now, and Christie definitely jump in, was to get to this feasibility study, to look at both sides to it, and I think exactly what Clay is talking about here, to evaluate so people can see it. What I will say with the committee, we did extensive work, walked through the building. Sounds like you have too. It is in rough shape in a lot of places. We don't know what's, behind, so we didn't pull any walls down, whatever. We know some of the issues there. But I think to do right by the town with the questions we have, I think that the concept, and I think what I see and hear of doing the kind of feasibility and looking at both sides of it, evaluating costs and whatever, to finalize the approach we do is kind of where we're intending to go.
Yeah, and I would just add that I think when it was given to the municipal building committee, the idea was that the building would be taken down, but the committee, in your discussions, and I believe in your review of the RFQ, wanted some review of whether or not the building could be reused.
And that was kind of the message we received from the town also, was that they wanted, some people wanted to save the building, others say they realized that, it's in disrepair and it probably should come down. But we need to hear from an expert on what can be done with the building, if it is salvageable or if it needs to come down.
Yeah, and just from my perspective, I think the original committee did a great job, but what was missing was numbers. And, ultimately, there's a cost associated with each of them. One may be more or less, but I think until we have the numbers, that's really what needs to come out of this.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I just had a quick question, so, and I apologize because I'm flipping through that as you were speaking, but, so I like the way you've outlined in the every 2 weeks and how you'd go about that. You do outline in here that there's a team that you're working with outside of yours. So you just talk about how that works real quickly. I know it's in here, but just I didn't get a chance to read through.
Sure, sure. And included in here really, I mean, your RFP was very, very thorough. It talked about all the pieces it needed, and I know that Shab has it electronically as well, so it could be distributed. So the team members consist of field surveyors. They're going to laser measure the existing building, which is, I mean, these days we don't crawl around too much with a tape measure. You just end up with a much better product. So they're going to come out and laser measure and create AutoCAD drawings, elevations, plans, sections, etc. That'll happen straight out of the gate, you know, and we'll have that within 2 weeks. At that point, we'll be meeting with you, really addressing, you know, your thoughts and concerns about both the existing building, potential adaptive reuse, and the idea of creating a new building, including resiting the building. There's been a lot of talk about, from what I understand, about how it could better take views of the golf course, how the pro shop is situated within the building. Maybe there's some shared function between the restrooms just for the economics of it, whether we're going to have any locker facilities, et cetera, really developing the program for the building. At that point, we'll have those drawings back, and we'll begin the process of looking at alternatives concurrently of both the adaptive reuse and the new build. We'll probably have a couple of options for each as outlined in here. When I say probably, it's all outlined in here. I'm a little iffy because I wrote this a while ago. We do have a series of options. What typically we'll do, we'll go through a series of alternatives. In general, what we find is people will either generally gravitate towards one or like pieces of them, and we like to then bring those all together to create two preferred options. One is the preferred adaptive reuse option, the other is the preferred new build option. At that point, we will create narratives for both of those. Those narratives will include architectural, structural, and mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection. Those narratives then will, along with those preferred options, give those to our cost estimator. He will run the numbers and create two separate cost estimates for the adaptive reuse and the new. We will meet with you at the end of that summary of all of you and the other stakeholders. We will make a recommendation as to how we think you would proceed. And at the end of the day, you'll have this package of a preferred option and some numbers, which I would think at some point become rolled into another RFP that you put out, potentially to a private developer. Because when I look at this, I say, you know, not that you can't do it, but I will say when we were doing the library building, they decided to purchase the credit union next door to it so that we could expand the project. There were a lot of people who were not too keen on that, on the idea of the town buying additional properties and what would happen if we didn't use it, how are we going to lease it. So this feels like a really good public-private partnership where you get somebody to build the building and maybe you lease back 400 square feet or so for the pro shop. So that's really the way the process is, very well detailed in here, the timelines, and as I said, if it's of any help to you, more than happy to publish a bunch more of these and distribute them.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question to us, I guess, not to Clay. Clay had mentioned, or somebody mentioned reorienting the building. What kind of flexibility do we have on this building spot to change the building setting? In other words, rotating it, moving it back, making it bigger? Are we stuck with a certain square footage? I mean, I don't know where we are on that, and it's not Clay's issue, it's our issue, I think. If it's going to be bigger, I think we need to know, because you could come in with a 10,000 square foot and you can come in with a 20,000 square. Where do you want to end this? Because it's certainly going to cost a heck of a lot more money.
But that's part of the feasibility study, is to look
That's
at
in this?
what our footprint, because obviously we're constrained by the golf course, and then if you have too big of a building, you have to have the parking to support it. So that's all part of the
No, I agree.
feasibility.
I mean,
Yeah.
I want to see something that fits that spot.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
And I- but I-
where I'm at.
But I think to your question, I think we have the flexibility there. It's, as I understand it, and Fred's back to me, it's municipally zoned, which gives us flexibility in a municipal zone in terms of frontage and setbacks and all that stuff. And I'm way over my skis and talking about zoning. But I think we have the flexibility, so what we want to do in the feasibility is to identify that. I mean, a rehab of the existing building is going to keep it with that, or it could be, as Clay said, some goes away, some remains, and then whatever, or a new building. But I think we have the ability to reorient it. Just as an aside, with because it's all public record, we met as the reuse committee. There was even discussion with the golf pro about, there's a big practice green in the front there, that there could be flexibility there. It costs a lot to build a practice green if you were to move that maybe behind the 8 tee box and expand that way. But those are all things that I think are available here, but will be things that would come out of that feasibility study. I would imagine. I don't know if you have any comments or.
No, I agree, and, I think one of the pieces, it's not in the RFP, is to either you may have, although we were rifling through drawings, we didn't necessarily find it, is a good survey of what you have out there, and that might be worth investing in having somebody like WDA or something come out and do a really good survey, at least with some spot grades. There's some grade changes. I know that there was talk when I was walking the site, the potential that maybe the pro shop might be tucked under the main building, so there might be some economies in there. I mean, no space is free, that's for sure,
Yeah.
but there might be some economies in that.
Great.
Any further questions?
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thank you, Clay. I
Sorry for the
appreciate that.
confusion, too.
Add to the fun.
Yeah.
So next up is BFE Architects. We have the team here.
Yes. Morning.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
John Arthur?
Take me a minute.
Morning.
Hi. Would you like us to start?
Go right ahead.
You just want to
We'll do that
introduce
while
yourself?
we're doing technical working. Good morning, everybody. Thank
Good
you
morning.
for having us. My name is Jerry Frank, and I'm founder and president of Bechtel Frank Erickson Architects, otherwise known as BFE Architects, because it's easier for people to remember. We're really honored and delighted to be able to come forth for you today to talk about your project. It's exciting. We had a tour of the site area and the neighboring area to get a good feel for it, and spoke extensively with the person that ran the pro shop in there. It was really informative. What I'm here to do is to talk a little bit about our firm, which is basically 32 years old. We've had a number of projects that is, we'll talk about a couple of them that relate directly to your project. And since our second golf club, we did some work in Lexington, Mass. With the Lexington Golf Club there, which was more renovations and smaller types of things on there.
Jerry, if you could just speak into the microphone.
I'm sorry, yeah, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize. And as an aspiring golfer myself, we're taking, it means an awful lot to be able to come out and do a project like this. Our firm, we have about 14 people. As I said, we have a wide variety of project types, from housing to commercial work, things related to you. We'll be here certainly to answer any questions about it, but I think the great pleasure is to introduce this phenomenal team of folks. Sorry? That have a great team that can talk a little bit about your project and what we will bring to the table. So I'm going to introduce Lauren Mitchell first from there.
So I am a project manager here at BFE, and I previously, hello.
Yeah, we have a member that's on Zoom with us.
Oh, okay. Is this better?
Yes, got it.
And so we had shown in the RFP that we've, previously worked on some golf clubhouses. One of them that is just finishing up construction that I worked on was King Rail Reserve Golf Course in Linfield, Mass. It was a 9-hole public course, similar to yours, and we were providing a permanent facility. They previously just had a trailer and no restrooms. So we were very involved with the town to lay out the site plan, which was a challenging site due to existing wetlands and easements and limited buildable area. And we, laid out the parking, golf club storage, and we worked closely with the Conservation Commission and the Conservation Administrators to get this through all the different boards and committees. They really wanted that classic, New England style golf clubhouse, but in a very small footprint, so everything had to be very functional, combining the pro shop and the office, having restrooms, having storage, having a large meeting room that could be used by the golfers after they finished up. It looked out over the 9th green. It had some nice sliding doors to patio, but also it was a space that they could rent out for leagues, for end-of-year banquets, and make some income off of. So it was very flexible, and it could be set up for different functions. And then we worked within a strict budget through the town, and we had some serious site work that had to be done due to our location in a drinking water wetland area. So we navigated that with the town to make sure our building was not ballooning the budget, and we stuck within a very strict parameter.
We take it for granted that we're going to give you good design, but I think one of the hallmarks of our office are we're really good consensus builders. Working with a municipal group with a large constituent of interested parties is a hallmark of what we do, and we bring it to every project that we get involved with. It's about having something that you feel ownership to and not something that we're doing to you. It's a really big distinction.
Right, yeah, this was, working with different departments in the town, working with the project managers, working with the pro shop managers, the people that were working on that golf course every day, and trying to figure out what was the best utilization of space and how to best get this done. Because they previously started and stopped a couple times with different architects. They really just wanted to get the course ready for the spring and have that new clubhouse active, because it's a busy course. So that was a very successful project, we feel, and they feel.
And again, it's really working together to make sure that we understand what's all the critical importance. I mean, cost is obviously one of them. Schedule is going to be one that's very much. And really making sure that we're including the types of program elements that allows this building to really thrive beautifully and to be able to, it seems that you have real opportunities encourage not only your pro shop, but a restaurant that really could be activated year-round, which is great.
It's going to lead us into our next down. So we did, as Jerry said, we stopped by, saw the site, saw the beautiful historic surroundings, and that's something our firm has a lot of experience with, being located in Lexington. We work on a lot of historic houses, renovations, restorations. We've gone through every historic committee you can think of. We're used to going through the HDC and working closely with the members to get a design that is retaining historic character and staying true to the aesthetic of the building, but still meeting, our clients' needs. And we do this on all scales, from, single-family residential up to some commercial projects. This one?
Yeah, and just to add, when we were driving around.
Could you speak a little closer to the mic?
Sorry.
When we were driving around, just some of the things we noticed is like the stone walls is kind of that rustic New England character, the detailing of the entrances, and we saw a lot of porches, which kind of could tie in well with keeping in the character. It's also, if we are talking about indoor-outdoor and restaurant space spilling out over, or patio space for golfers after a round, or if there's the other restaurant involved, I think we're just trying to enhance the vernacular that you already have here and just really make it feel like it's always been here for whatever you do, renovation or new construction or whatever it is.
Our work is also involved, as Lauren mentioned. I mean, we'd be run out of Lexington if we were not respectful of the historic fabric. And so we've had projects where it's not just been brand new, adding to it, but we've modified buildings so that one of the options that's before you here is to work with the existing building and perhaps find the right elements of it. We would honestly love to be able to move your just the changing rooms, the locker rooms away, because that's the most beautiful view on it, where you could really open up out into there. So there are lots of ways. Again, that'll be an involvement, a back and forth conversation throughout the process. I'm going to introduce Adina Fuller, is going to talk a little bit about.
Hi, everyone.
Want to go back?
Yeah, we'll go back one. So to follow up on what Jerry was talking about, the building on the right is a barn renovation project that we worked on many years ago. And as you can see on the top slide, the barn structure, we've actually kept the general characteristics of it and made some small moves to enhance it for the owner. This was a working barn at the time that we took this project on, and as you can see on the right-hand side, we removed a pen space that was there. We added a silo, added some dormers, and added space on the left side of the building on the slide below to increase the space for the owner's requirements. Some of you may know this space. This is the Gibbet Hill Grill and Function Hall in Groton, Mass. The owners were residents of the town. They bought 300 plus acres of land to set aside for conservation, and on that land were two barns that they wanted to develop as a family project. One barn was turned into a restaurant and the other was a function hall. They reached out to us because we were the architects for the God, I'm trying to blank in Lexington. Wilson Farm in Lexington. Yeah. And we really worked with them to bring the inside of the building to the outside by creating large openings, large deck spaces that connected to the rolling hills of the 300 acres that were left undeveloped as part of the project and their focus. This was an adaptive reuse where we've completely gutted the building down to the structure, replaced elements that were in disrepair with elements of similar character. And we also blended the new building elements in with the old to keep that barn character. We mitigated sound, which was a huge concern of theirs. Not with the use of acoustical tiles or acoustical panels, but we actually developed a system where we hid the acoustical materials underneath the actual cladding for the ceiling of the space. We separated the boards slightly, so it kept the character of the inside of the barn, but we did mitigate sound really well. This is a huge success story, not only for the family, but for the town. I happen to live in the town, and it's great that we now have a real place to gather, a restaurant, and a community destination space.
And Adina's not exaggerating. The first trip that we went out there were literally cows walking in and out of the barn in through here that we had to navigate around.
Yeah, it was quite the experience for a a younger architect
No, it was.
to have to go and measure a place like this,
I
but.
want to move back up to the slide before. I think I just wanted to, you want to talk the house, the before and after picture on the left-hand side?
Yeah, this is one of many, but we've done a lot of these single-family residential houses where we've taken, you know, the existing historical aspect of the house. Sometimes we remove additions made at later points that may not be super historical and just really focus on matching the aesthetic of the existing house and bringing that over into this new addition. So this is a great example of before and after where we really kept about 75% of the original footprint and just reclad it, built up, and really changed the entire layout to make it work for the owner, and also give it a little bit of a facelift to make, you know, everything very cohesive.
And that's one of the options before you folks as well, is it's not either you rip it all down or, you know, or just have to restore it. There may be something in between where you're doing some additions to it or just maybe taking and demolishing parts of things. But that's part of the journey that this feasibility study really undertakes to be able to explore that. So. This is Arthur Love.
Yes, so the last case study that we decided to show today is wood-framed housing projects from Tufts University. So this started with a feasibility study, just as much as yourselves, and there was 3 properties. Tufts is having issues of housing, like a common problem across the state and the country, of trying to where to put all the students because they're outgrowing kind of their campus. So they have been acquiring sites in the outskirts of campus. They had previous done 18 renovations to houses near these projects, and a feasibility study that had 3 main goals from Tufts is we need more beds, we want to be as sustainable as possible, and we need to increase our accessibility. And so what we did was we evaluated what if we did renovations or new builds. And the consensus was, which working with the team and trying to figure out all the goals, and these were for juniors and seniors, apartment-style housing. The buildings were just kind of a maze of staircases and level changes, so accessibility was not great. This particular one was a tear down. Part of the, we also, sustainability was also a major factor. So with the cost estimates at the end showed that going brand new build and gut renovation were similar or in the same ballpark, but the new build and the new style of construction was just so much more sustainable, and the air changes were just, they did a greenhouse life expectancy. So through those decisions, it was really led us to going this particular route for this one. The other one was also ended up being a new build, and the other one was a gut renovation with an addition. But what happened during the process was that we had so many departments to listen to, and kind of part of our team and what we do well is that we want to put options out there so we can talk about them, because and it's just, we want to put something in front of you that's going to get a reaction, as many as possible, because we're always going to be listening, and we can take things from different conversations and really try to figure out who the community is, who's going to be using the spaces, and we just try to, like Lauren's with the King Rail golf courses, finding multi-flexibility. They're a small course, but they had different occupancy, and there was different times of day. We positioned it so that it could be open certain times and not open during others, but still allowing the golfers to use it in a way that was for them and not necessarily having to have the whole building open. So those types of conversations early on in programming is really helpful, and we just kind of, we want to have conversations to figure out what those goals are and help establish the right decision-making tools for the committee and whoever's making it to make the right decisions.
I think what's important is what you're doing is a really good thing. You know, there should be, and you know, this is my sense of karma is that I very much believe in a process. When it's inclusive and exciting and you're putting forth something for it, good things happen. And I think we had the advantage of working with a very clever contractor here who helped us not only kind of gear us to, how to be cost effective, but we also had to deal with schedule. We can't tell Tufts University, I'm sorry, students can't come in and start the semester in September. That may be consideration for your project moving forward, knowing how golf seasons work and do that. And that led us to the whole notion of the prefabrication, which would be a very interesting idea to do it, because literally the buildings were made in component pieces. They were fabricated in Keene, New Hampshire, brought down in trucks, and assembled the shell of the building in 3 weeks. And it was, wow. I mean, and it was amazing because they have no staging area, no place to, put a lot of dumpsters on it. So this was an amazing process. It really produced very little waste because everything was kind of pre-done. And then, of course, the interiors, all of the mechanics and the drywall and all the finishes, sort of happened in there. But it allowed things to really move along quickly. And I have to say, in all modesty, the school's been thrilled, with its results. It really has been. It's been an exciting. But again, it started in that feasibility study where we were working together and everyone was empowered to understand, what the options were. And our job is to really provide information. You're a smart group of people to really make what's the right decision and what really best fits for your community.
And so thank you for our time that you've granted us. And it just ended by when we went there, we were kind of struck by that hill is just like, it's so beautiful, and it reminds me of kind of the hills in Vermont, and it's just subtle, and like we said at the beginning, the locker rooms are facing it, and you got the high windows so you can't even see it, but so really, and you mentioned in the RFP, the indoor outdoors, you got the beautiful landscape to work with, and that's kind of the canvas where we're excited. That's why there's so many people here, and people back at the office like, what do you guys we're working on? So thank you for your time, and we'll open up to any questions.
Yeah, we really wanted to leave the bulk of the time for you folks. And I did go to the driving range this weekend and really, but yeah, no, it's all about you. So really ask any questions, anything.
Right.
So I'll ask the same question I asked the previous, to kind of talk a little bit about your approach and your ability, you think, to meet the time frame of mid-September. I think you're accurate, and the town is very anxious to see this project move forward, and obviously having something that we can get going is important.
Well, I think the challenge, we're always working backwards, is to kind of set the date of that September 15th, assuming a June 15th start is a major part of this is cost estimate. So giving them enough time for back and forth is kind of pushes the schedule that we need to get our drawings done and information to them early on enough. And I think from working at the front is that we are very, the way we work with Tufts, the way we work with any client is that we just throw it out there as quickly as possible. We take our time to put up creative ideas and things on paper, but we just want to get in front of you as quickly as possible, just to have and we'll bring trace paper. We've done that before. I've brought a model up on a screen just so that we understand that not everybody reads drawings, and we'll try to explain best with our words, but seeing is believing. So getting diagrams, getting the model in front of people, helping the conversation move quickly. And we just learned so much from those initial conversations so that we can get it done.
A couple of things in there. One is we're ready to rock and roll. I think that our biggest difficulty is going to be, putting people off in the office that want to work on the project. Everyone's excited about it. Tufts was a great example of, we had, and this was really great, there were a room about 15 or so different people in the facilities group. Most of them were architects that we had to present to other architects into there. And we rapidly, in a matter of weeks, really worked together with different designs on it. We're a great believer in having momentum. If you have a user team or group set up internally from the community, that is essential to do that. And we can, we will help, we consider ourselves in a way orchestra conductors. We can help, guide in as a way that without, being bossy about it, just say, here are the types of things we do. Let's form a user team. Let's get on a schedule. Let's make meetings, schedule up. They can be a combination of in-person, virtual. We had talked, I think it showed in our RFP about whether it's worth taking a tour to a couple of different clubhouses in the area that have been built, that things that you can see. That's very useful for us because you can tell us things that you like and don't like about things. And it's it's worth 1,000 words, is just seeing the actual picture. But we are very adept at quickly working through, and there's something great about, there's something very fresh about work that happens quickly, and that was the case at Tufts. They weren't overly labored building designs on it. Arthur's absolutely right. I think the important part is we want to make sure that we leave, the several weeks necessary for good cost estimates, and that's the trick in this day and age, is trying to get our hands around how much things are costing. The consultant that we have on our team has a phenomenal track record with our office, that we've worked with them on several projects where a contractor had given numbers and their number was far lower, and so we would have to meet and talk about it, and boy, they were on the money every time. And so that's been really huge for us, is having that there. But I think in terms of going and making your deadlines, absolutely. And and again, it's to provide you and arm you with the necessary graphics. You saw some of the examples there of renderings and things that we do. We do 3D walkthroughs. This is good stuff, and it's to make everyone look good here.
Yeah, I think Jerry said momentum too, is that we would set up a schedule, find a time that works, and even if it's weekly, just to have that time. Maybe we're not talking a lot, and maybe we're presenting a lot, but just keeping the momentum kind of keeps everybody engaged, and you gotta get to think, and then let it sit for. We don't want to just show you one finished design and be like, what do you think? It took a month, and then you absorb that. So design is an iterative process, and you kind of think, you're thinking, you got to see it, absorb it, and then you kind of, it evolves. And just like it evolves for us, it's going to evolve for you as we're talking about, what about this idea? And so I think keeping momentum in a schedule keeps everybody engaged.
Other thing. Other questions?
Any other questions? No other questions?
No, what do you mean?
This is good.
Did that get a job of telling anything you want to know about the firm? Or
Actually, I do have a question. So on the Gibbet Hill Grill piece you talked there, I'm assuming with that space you were also working on designing the kitchen elements and the barn. Can you just kind of...
Yes, we actually worked with, I believe it was Colburn and Guyette for that. So we worked with kitchen designer. We also did have an interior designer that helped us with lighting, material selections, paint selections, and furnishings. There's a lot of elements in the restaurant and in the function hall that were carefully selected to enhance the aesthetics of the inside of the building.
Yeah, but we have a stable of different kitchen consultants, not just one. You folks here may have people that you know and have worked with. We are always really open and like working with new people, as well as people that we have worked with as well. But yeah, and I think again the important point, and I think all three folks here have mentioned it, is we have to provide you something that can really sustain and allow you to rent it out for functions and have parties and have the Christmas parties and all of that good stuff in there. So we have to be just really mindful of how do we do things so there's real flexibility put into the space, and of course it's going to look beautiful. I mean that's the given. It's got to be.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, I was just going to thank him. Thank you.
You're so welcome. We really appreciate it. And again, if there's any more information you need, you're always welcome to. We're very proud of our offices in Lexington. We moved to offices a year and a half ago. We love showing it off. But again, if you want to see any of these projects, we can arrange, for any visits, you to meet people and, and talk to our clients. Definitely talk to our references. They're our best advertising we have, because they, I can say all these nice things, but they're the ones that had to live it, and we'll give you the real scoop. So,
Great.
All right, thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
We so
Thank you.
appreciate it. This is a great building, by the way. I was happy that we moved here and we went across the street. Nicer building. Thank you.
We rehab both of them, so.
You rehab both of them?
Yes.
Very good. Oh, this is beautiful.
Exit this way too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Good luck.
Thank you.
What'd you say? The award-winning windows? You're too smart ass.
We couldn't make the presentation, it was in Florida, but we got it anyways.
We have one more, right?
We have one more candidate. I think Schaub just went to
Clean.
see them. Find them.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Grill thing in there.
Okay, so the third and last is RGB Architects.
Welcome. Good morning. Yep, right.
Set up the middle there.
How's everyone today?
Very good. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Which is the best way to connect, or flash drive maybe, or
There should be a cord right there.
HDMI?
Yeah.
Okay.
Christie, is Jim still up in Lexington?
He's retiring.
He is.
Yeah, in September.
Um,
But yes, he's from.
He's still there, but.
Yeah.
It's always a connection. and stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I like it.
Thank you.
Nice shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you get extra, you can have it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Two. Look at that. It's a good sign, I guess, right? Now you want one? That's right.
All right. Any minute now. Yeah, I just want to make sure the presentation comes up. Yeah. Awesome. Technology. All right. Yeah.
Doesn't look so good.
We do have a member on Zoom, so if you can speak into the microphones when you're talking, that way it broadcasts out to them, so thank you.
So just parameters, we have 20 minutes for a presentation, 10 minutes for Q&A, and thank you for coming and being a finalist, and look forward to hearing from you.
It's our pleasure. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
It's okay if we stand here? I don't want
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. We were going to multi-roll this.
That's right. So we have a few slides to go through. We'll show you some of our background, introduce ourselves, and things of that nature. Are we ready to go, or do I have to?
Yeah, all ready.
Get the timer going? All right. So thank you very much. We're RGB Architects. We're very happy to be here and hopefully be a part of the Westborough Golf Club building. Through this presentation, we have some agenda items that we want to go through. We're going to talk about some of our experience. We're going to talk about project objectives that we feel may be important to your team. We're going to talk about our project approach and obviously why RGB. We think that one's the easiest one, right? To introduce ourselves, my name is John Racine. I'm a principal at RGB. I've been with RGB for 17 years or so. I've been in the industry for about 25 years. And Andrew?
Yeah,
speaker.
My name's Andrew Barkley. I've been with RGB Architects for 15 years, I believe. It's hard to count. I've been in architecture for 30 plus years now. So that's a little bit about myself.
Matt?
Hey guys, my name is Matthew Wendorf. I'm with RGB Architects. I've worked for them for 9.5 years, so almost a decade now. I worked on a multitude of projects from hospitals to hospitality, but I'm especially excited for this one. I have kind of a connection with this. My uncle has been a member here since 1969. Scotty Forbes, I don't know if you know him or not. He used to bring me golfing down here all the time, so I'd be excited to be part of this project for sure.
A little history about RGB. We've been in the industry for 46 years or so. We are. I'm sorry. Yeah, since 1976. Yeah, we're old. Yeah, I guess. We are very strong on sustainability. We were the first to introduce the LEED chapter in Rhode Island. We were the first LEED certified building in Rhode Island, and the first, second actually, net zero building in New England. So sustainability is a big part of our portfolio. We introduce or we use a lot of cutting edge technology, 3D software. Everything we do is Revit, and a lot of technology. If it's out there, we'll certainly take a look at it and try to put it towards our projects. Markets, we are somewhat generalists. We do a lot of different projects, but hospitality is something that we certainly like, and sports and leisure certainly like to get into and really dig in as part of our portfolio. Project objectives.
So I'm just going to kind of brief over here what we kind of got from the documentation that you guys provided, as well as from the RFP. We saw that you guys took a survey of the board that you guys put together. Took a survey of the town and general public. It seemed that these were the key items that we kind of pulled out and think are kind of important to you guys. And if you have any objections or want to add in anything to these, I mean, we are obviously here listening. So initially, we know that the site itself is real tight, especially with the existing building that's there, the footprint. It basically takes up everything from your parking lot to where your first tee is to the putting green right now. So the footprint of the building is very tight as is in its existing state. I think that we understand the challenges that might arise when trying to maintain that, but I think the goal would be to maximize what we can get for square footage here. And really, I think that square footage is probably going to not come from like a larger footprint necessarily, but building up. And I think that that's also kind of ties into the next thing, which is trying to introduce a function room that can be utilized for things other than just, the golf members themselves. You can open this to the public. It could be a space that gets rented or something of that nature. Really trying to expand the total square footage of the building, I think, is important here. I know that there was a restaurant here at one point, and I've heard multiple times that my uncle wishes that there was still one there, because now him and his golf buddies have to go down to the Central House down the street instead of just having a beer and grabbing a bite at the place. So we know that this is a big component that I think everybody is in support of and wants this to go into the project. So we have some pretty good background in this sort of program. So we certainly will tie that in. And I think the last thing is kind of a combination of a pro shop, storage space, some offices, and potentially like a simulator / members area. So I think that all of those combined kind of can fit within this, and I think we'd probably take an approach to unify these in one central space. So that way you're allowed to maximize if it's a larger pro shop, if it's more member area. I think kind of consolidating these things down in a footprint that's small enough that can support these spaces is important. And then we know that this is right outside the historic district. Like, this building is, as Andrew will allude to, is eligible to be on the historic register if that's something that you guys choose that you want to do as a direction. But we know that maintaining the character of the downtown Westborough area is important for this. And I think that we have some projects that you'll see in here that are similar in nature and really kind of could drive that home. So.
Sit down. Oh. I think it's right. All right. Oh, all right. Well, so I think that's fine. So this is actually an example of 1149, which was a building that was underutilized. Actually, it was closed at the time that we did an assessment of the building, and owner came in and wanted to convert this into a brand new restaurant. So this is 1149. We're going to have a few images of the interior, but we did a whole exterior renovation of it. Very contemporary, sort of in its time. This is now, I don't know, 10.
2010.
Yeah, I was going to say 10 years plus. Just an example of some of the interior finishes, the bar, the greeting, the servery, kind of just an example of the interior upgrades and renovation. This is another sort of exposure of the outdoor seating and sort of a gathering space, indoor and outdoor. Communication was important. So I'm going to go flash through these kind of quickly. This is actually, I know it's kind of out of context, but the idea of hospitality and design. We did a lot of work in terms of a brand new building. Of course, this is a Marriott, but this is the interior sort of upfit, again, for community gathering, sort of up-to-date, non-traditional in a way, but some interesting, that was really well received in terms of the interior. I just want to bring that one up. More of the interior finishes for that. Looking at light, texture, color, different sort of modern materials. Now I'm going to talk about shifting to historic experience. So since I'm the oldest one here, I'm now considered historic. I do the historic work predominantly in the office. My interest in that actually started, every one of these projects that are brought up, St. Gabriel's, Taunton Superior Court, New Bedford Superior Court, that's actually 1831. They all started from feasibility studies. So we were asked to come in and assess the building, look at them, find out what the conditions were, how could they be remediated, and we'll talk about this later on, but we talk about forensic studies. So why is the roof leaking? Is it the roof? Is it the wall? Is it the, are we getting hydrostatic pressure from below? So we did a whole study of each building, which led to further renovation and sort of modernization. So we're actually in the point of, with Taunton Superior Court right now. I know it's a much larger context, different township, but working within Massachusetts and the whole design renovation project, recognizing these buildings are on the Historic National Registry, there's a lot of protocol that has to go forward in terms of meeting standards of Secretary of Interiors. And then there's also opportunities for some grant funding. So we were fortunate enough to get 2 separate grants, community preservation grants, for the New Bedford Superior Court and also for Taunton Superior Court. So I just brought that in because I realized that could be a component you might want to consider, and that we know you have at least the initial home that is it's quite nice. It's been absorbed or modified over time, but there may be a chance that in a feasibility to study that as something that you extract out or leave, and then you build new around it. So there's some options in terms of that we'd have with you in terms of discussion about what you may want to retain and what you may want to take away. So I've just shown you we have experience in historic preservation, restoration, and Yeah, go ahead.
But it's also important to note that these are town-owned.
Yeah.
Could you maybe speak into the mic? We have somebody on Zoom with us.
Yeah. It's also important to recognize that these are all town or county owned. So the public bid process, public money and things of that nature was all processed through these. Very similar to what you're going to need to go through as a town entity and a property that's town owned.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. Well, this is an example of a project that started off as basically a blighted building. Yes, it was a theater, it's Bones Theater, but it was not used. And the question before us was come assess it, see how it could be rethought, reprogrammed, and it actually won a historic award for its reuse and renovation. So we maintained the outside shell, bettered it or improved it, but on the inside we turned it into, not only is it a theater, it's a community center. So you have, it can be a wedding venue, it can be, it's a coffee shop on the next level. So it has a component that it gives back to the civic sort of confines that finds itself. So I thought that was somewhat in scale, and also just the idea of the process of rethinking an existing building that needs some help. So this is Watch Hill Inn. RGB has been involved in renovating and updating Watch Hill Inn over the last at least 20 years since I started. It's a beautiful, and I think that what I thought it would be nice to show is that it's similar in context, similar in form, similar in material, in same language of what you have here in Westborough. And again, the same thing. It's an inn. It's a community center. It can be leased out for conventions. It can also be used as a venue for weddings as well. So it's an ongoing, constant restaurant. It's beautiful, sited down by the water, but very similar, not so much in scale, but in terms of its programming. That could be something to consider in this feasibility. So some examples of the interior, actually, Watch Hill here. This is just showing an example in the lower corner of a much smaller residential scale that we have experience and exposure in doing smaller, more intimate places, not as high dollar maybe, but the idea that we can go in and envision how a space can be reused, how it could be reprogrammed. Does anyone want to talk about this? Keep going? All right, so
we're running out of time.
I know, I'm like restaurant and hospitality. So we just put up a list of some of the projects that we've actually had a chance to work on. So 1149, we spoke on that real quick. Watch Hill, Raphael Bar and Bistro, Mohegan Sun, that's a huge project, but resort, casino, a lot of really interesting spaces and individual spaces that were developed like scenarios, almost like a neighborhood. So anyway, just a real quick pass on some of the interiors upgrades. Here you go, Matt. You talk about Country Club. He's our resident golfer.
You know. These are just some of the country clubs that we have been a part of. We've done renovations on each of these up here: Metacomet Country Club, Quinnitissit, Warwick Country Club, which is the photo you see in the background there, Wannamoisett Country Club, and Ledgemont. All these similar interior renovations to the dining and kitchen areas of these. So we do have some, background in this specific stuff, specifically with country clubs. I mean, we'd love to kind of bring Westborough Golf Club, like kind of to be like the leading edge of what you can have at a country club, and I think that's something that's easily achieved. So.
Excuse me, did you do feasibility studies for these?
Are you aware if we did? I don't know if we actually did feasibility studies for these or not. I'm sure that we could find out.
So I know Metacomet we did, yes.
Yeah.
Because and it's actually no longer, it's been closed since because of, I don't know, internal funding. But it's at the point of, should the city maybe consider taking it over in a similar fashion? So we did start that. It started off as a kitchen renovation and then modernization for the back, which you call the screens, sort of the outdoor bar and contemporary space that's out there. It's under a big awning, so in good weather, hopefully you're playing golf in good weather, you arrive to that and have a place to sit outside. So I do know that.
So our process, that was a great segue into how we do these. In almost every public project, there is a feasibility study. We've done several DCAM certifiable studies where you look at the existing facility pricing, ADA analysis, structural analysis, And then that goes to DCAM and gets certified. So it's a back and forth with that entity. I don't believe this is going to be a DCAM certified process.
No.
Of course.
It's municipal. It's municipal, it's not state.
Right. But we can use that as a model. That's very similar. We do it all the time. And the process in general is to sit down with the team, take a look at the building, do that assessment, and then really talk to the team on what exactly you'd like out of this project. What are the goals? What's your budget? What's your schedule? All those things come into effect when you do a feasibility study. You know, we can expand this building to whatever you'd like, but if it doesn't meet your schedule, that's not a successful project. That will be all part of the study.
And then deriving different options within that.
Deriving different options.
Study is like not be set in one direction, because I know there's some discussion about, do we keep it and renovate, do we take it down and build new, is there somewhere in between? So those options should be studied as part of this assessment. So.
Right. So as we mentioned, I know we're running out of time here, as we mentioned, we're going to verify the conditions, of course, do the forensics review, which is why we have Andrew here. He's great at digging in, finding out why the issues are issues. I know it's a turn-of-the-century building, or actually a little bit earlier than that. A foundation, I'm not sure if you have moisture going into the foundation, but it looked like a loose stone foundation, so that's something. We'll take a look at all those things and make recommendations on how they can be either improved, or you leave them alone, or is it better to put your money somewhere else, and all those things as part of that study. And then we'll talk about what the end result is. What do you want this to be, again? And how does that study help you get there?
And we can have options assessed in terms of an estimate. So you get a ballpark idea of what the cost might be to help you evaluate as well.
Absolutely. Right. And then I know that there are a lot of ADA issues and life safety issues in the building. We'll assess those. We have a full team of engineers that will take a look at all the MEPs, the fire protection, and we'll do a code analysis to see where our rates, and also the energy code here in Mass is certainly a new challenge, and that's something we're certainly aware of. We do a lot of work here in Mass. So why RGB? I think we have a great combination of specialized individuals that can come in and do an individual analysis, or a specific analysis for those pieces of your building. We have a broad history and a broad experience base to work off of. I think that's one of the great things about our team. We certainly are very energy conscious. As I mentioned before, we have 2 LEED certified professionals on the team, and we're painfully familiar with the energy code here at Mass. We have several LEED certified projects. We have basically a historic architect here, in a couple of ways, right?
Yes. Antique.
Yeah, antique. So we can take a look at that approach if that's something that interests you as well. And then obviously we have in-house estimating and scheduling. I actually do a lot of that. I love to see a schedule, even though I'm an architect, almost as much as I like sketching in buildings.
And actually in construction, he's fantastic at tracking budgets and communicating that back to see where we are in terms of what your expenditures are and what you have to spend, and where we can maybe save some money or apply to something that's a betterment instead of just.
That is true. I do tend to bring either the good news or the bad news.
Exactly.
And then obviously the A team. You have 2 principals here on the office presenting, and we would manage the project as well as it moves forward. So that's why we feel we're strong. I don't know how we did on 20 minutes, but any questions?
Hold on.
We'd be happy to.
I'll take the first one. So I've been asking this of each.
That's our handicap. We just had to.
Yeah.
I'll play with 2 of you, not the one.
That's actually a gift because
he can do it, not me.
I don't.
Well
29 or 19. It should be really 29 or 19.
As you alluded to, the town is very anxious to see this project move forward. So we have what we feel is a pretty aggressive date in terms of, getting all this information together by mid-September for the October town meeting. So if you could give us your feedback in terms of how you can help us get there. Obviously, a lot of it depends on us, but how you'll guide the process and whether you think that's a realistic target.
Yeah, September, we feel for a feasibility study is certainly within the realm of what we can do. Again, we do these studies very often. We just finished 2 with the National Guard here in Mass. I've got at least another 1 or 2 going on. These are DCAM certifiable. So we've got a base that we work with. We've got templates and things of that nature that we can bounce off, that we're not starting from brand new. But your project is very specific, so we basically we have the team to go in, we get all of our engineers in at the same time, we'll walk through, take a look at the building, and then sit down with your team and really kind of give you the first pass of what we have seen and what our major concerns are, and then based on that, we'll try to get feedback from your team on how this study should move forward. So I think it's certainly doable. I think one of the bigger challenges for us is always the estimating portion, because you're relying on a number of different entities to give you pricing. So we usually want around 3 to 4 weeks for pricing. So we'll work backwards. If you're looking for it in September, we'll want our report essentially to be pretty much done for August, so that we can give that to the estimator and have that person or our team kind of noodle that around and have a little bit of feedback. So knowing that the schedule is quite tight, we'll bring the estimator in a little bit earlier, so that we're not at the end, at the end of September saying, oh, we're $2 million over budget, what are we going to do? So we certainly can work within that time frame.
Thank you.
And I would say, just to add on to that, that it's critical to know who the team is that we're working with, because we don't work in a vacuum. I mean, Matt can dream up anything, I can design anything, but if we don't have the communication with the group that makes decisions, then we're doing something in the dark, right? So that's no good, to come in and present something to you that makes no sense, or that you've already discovered doesn't work for you, so we need to know. So I think it's establishing a schedule when we can meet, who the tentative decision makers are, and be able to talk with you and communicate, share with you what our thoughts are, and listen to you to see if we can make modifications or changes before it goes too far. You don't want to advance. Say we're developing 2 options. Well, those 2 options need to be vetted by you as the citizenry, right, and the group that makes some decision before it goes to pricing. Actually, before it goes into any type of second or third iteration of design, because when you go to present to the town, in a town meeting, you want to be sort of set, at least your determination, you have a consensus, this is what we want to present, right? So it will require a lot of back and forth with you as a town. That's true. All right?
Any other questions?
Good. Great.
Thank you very much.
One question.
Good presentation.
All right.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Reach out on the chorus if it's not raining.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
Do you have an idea as to when you think you'll be making a decision, one way or the other?
I think we're going to discuss it as soon as this,
Oh.
is done.
All right, well, let us get out of your hair.
Hopefully make a decision today.
Yeah.
We want to move forward.
Right.
Yeah. I will post it on VidNet before the end of the week. As soon as we have a decision, I'll post it on VidNet and it'll be circulated.
Thank you very much.
via email.
Appreciate that.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
Thank you again for
Thank
having
you
us.
so much.
I do, yes.
I think we should talk to the microphone. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, Bill.
Yes.
So. We talk about this when we talk about on TV or not?
Yeah.
So,
Yes, we have to.
So.
There's no,
Okay.
Yeah, we have to. It's open meeting, we have to deliberate.
No, I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the review committee reviewed the technical proposals, which got you to your 3 finalists, and then you just all heard the interviews, so now you can now you can deliberate and make an award.
I'd just like to ask Shab, I mean, you've reviewed the 3 proponents, and they all met the criteria for what we're looking for?
Yes, yes, and I checked the references. And RGB, all 3 were checked out. RGB and Smoke had the best, and I talked to people who worked with them over several years, several projects, and they had excellent. They'd hire them in a minute.
That was RGB?
RGB and Smoke both.
And Smoke.
BFE also had decent references, highly rated. But RGB and Smoke, the very first one, had excellent references.
Now, what price range are they in?
50,000. These 3 are around. I can get the exact figures if you give me a minute.
They're all within 10%.
Yeah.
They range
Of
from
each other,
like 55 to 60.
And we allocated what at town meeting? 100,000?
Do you have it on your laptop? I didn't bring them. Do you have the Excel spreadsheet I sent?
Well, I can add. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of feedback. We basically landed on the 3 that were within, a couple $1,000s of each other, and it was it eliminated both the highest bid and a substantially lower bid.
Yeah, that's true.
I just want to give Jen a chance. Jen, did you want to say anything about what took place with the interviews or anything?
No, I thought they were all good. I don't know, I don't really have anything to offer. Felt like the second one, I sort of liked them, but I think any of them, I think it was great, the question about the timeline, because I know it's pretty aggressive, so that was good to ask that. It seems like they're all capable of meeting it, but be interested to hear who you guys pick.
Shab, did you provide the criteria review for the technical proposals to the full committee?
Not the full committee, no.
Okay, then can you go through that?
The technical?
Yeah, just to round out any of the questions. So the full committee knows that the criteria was within the RFP, which you all reviewed. And so the 3 members reviewed that criteria, gave advantageous, highly advantageous, and then arrived at these 3. So if you have any questions related to the criteria within the RFQ, then you should ask that of Shab.
Yeah, basically all 3 that were selected for the interviews had the technical experience. The RFP, the proposals that they submitted were very thorough. The schedule and timeline that they provided were also very helpful, and they provided all that information that we requested in the RFQ. They have breadth of experience over the last 20 years, all 3 companies. Plenty of municipal experience doing similar project, golf courses and hospitality industry experience. All of them fulfilled their proposals were very thorough. All the forms were done, and they were all good. I think, in my opinion, all 3 can do the job, but it's really the committees, who they like to work with. And they are all within a few $1,000s. They're all 50s, from 55,000 to 59,000.
So that's substantially less than what the town proposed?
Yes.
I would like to mention too, that when we did our evaluation, the 3 of us, we didn't look at the price. We did it on their qualifications first. And then after we had done our evaluations and sent it to Shab, she presented us with the money. So the money part of it didn't have anything to do with our evaluation. We did it basically on their qualifications.
Which is consistent with the process that you laid out in the RFQ, so.
Okay, does anybody have anything?
I just had a question. When you did the screening in the beginning, did your committee, the subcommittee, do a ranking of the proposals? Rank I don't know what the right word is, but you ranked the...
So it was already presented to us by Shab as part of the RFP that we had an evaluation, and we had criteria on that we based everything by. It wasn't just you know, our thoughts. It was structured so that way every firm was graded the same.
Right, and so I was just curious if you ranked your grading, that's all. Did you rank each of the names?
So with the highly advantageous, if you ranked them with gave a number, would one of them have ranked, I think is the question.
Yeah, because you guys did a more in-depth look at everything. All I have now is today, this was the first time I'm seeing it, so I can't think about it and really get into it until I read it, but, and the second one was just colored picture, which is nice, but I just wondered if you guys ranked them on all the questioning that you guys did, that's all.
Yes.
I can, yeah. I was gonna jump in just to say, I think our goal was really to get it to 3 for this group to then vet more thoroughly and get kind of wholesale buy-in.
So Shel, I know we ranked it highly the criteria was who had the most highly advantageous.
Right, yeah.
But that's only one piece, so
We tabulated.
I think that, did you not receive the materials ahead of this meeting? Is that?
We just got this morning.
Okay.
And we sat here, that's all.
So I think that.
I would have liked to had some background information before today's meeting.
So I think it's probably fair to review the materials and then.
I sent everything to Jim. I don't have contact information for the entire committee. I didn't think that they were going to all evaluate, so I didn't distribute to entire committee. I just sent all the.
Well, regardless, now that we made the presentations, I think it's fair if the committee reviews the information.
So why don't we take the 3 finalists now, instead of reviewing everybody, take the 3 finalists.
Correct.
Send the information to all 3. We now have the benefit of hearing from them all, which I think was terrific. I thought they had great presentations, but I think we could now each do use the same criteria that's already in the RFP. And I think, at this point, we've checked the references, they all seem good, prices are all, so it's really technical, their approach and their qualifications. I think if this committee ranks those, you could gather those and make a decision.
Yeah, I think, and the results of the interviews, I mean, I have personal feeling as how I pulled out, but I think that's the case. I think we would want to probably meet early next week if we want to move this forward.
Yeah, I think give it a little time because, it is new to us with receiving everything.
Right, so you would review the materials that were submitted and then the summary evaluation from the evaluation committee.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
So if that can be shared with us today, and then I think we can set a meeting for next week to make the selection. That way we can keep this on track from a time.
Yeah, I mean, we are in a time constraint, so I think as quickly as possible. Does anybody want to discuss anything further with what they presented?
I think we can do it next week.
Next week?
Yeah, do it all at once.
Yep.
So just to clarify, I should send the proposal of the 3 finalists that presented to the rest of the members. Alan and, forget your name.
Al Gordon.
Al Gordon.
You can actually just send it to Enza and then she can distribute it to the full committee.
Yeah.
I'm at the MPC email.
Can you just send me your
Okay,
email?
so
Write down your email and I'll
when do you want to meet next week?
Yes.
I have to go to the pay-as-you-throw info session, so but Kim is here and can be helpful if you have other.
Is next Wednesday available?
I got
12th?
Thursday. Can we do Thursday?
Thursday the 13th?
I am available on the 13th, I'm not on the 10th.
Yes.
All right, 13th. Ian, you?
If I may, I know
Sure.
Christie, I think the 12th works really well for her, and then we've already got a number of other things scheduled. I heard somebody mention the 12th. Is that a possibility?
Somebody said they couldn't do the 12th. You, Peter?
I can't be here on the 12th.
Yeah, I can't be here either. I would be.
So that'd be tough to get a quorum.
11th?
Do we have the 13th?
I'm available on
Right.
the 11th, 13th.
Okay.
The 13th should work for Christie.
13th works. 11th doesn't work for me at 8 a.m. 13th would work.
13th, okay with you?
13's good for me.
13th.
Okay, so we'll look at next Thursday, the 13th, 8 a.m. in this room, and you'll 13th.
And basically, that will be the thing, one thing on our agenda.
Yes,
Okay.
just to discuss the proposals, and then we'll make a decision
In
at
and
that
out.
time. Yes.
Already made a decision, I mean, each.
Individually, we should be ready to go.
person-
Yep.
I can't, yeah, I can't envision any more than half an hour, I would think.
I could give you mine now, but I can't.
Are you guys, okay, so just the proposals, right?
Yeah,
Nothing else?
right, that's all we need.
No, the summary evaluation sheet.
Valuation sheet, are you guys gonna be evaluating also?
No, Shab, what Christie asked was that you forward them the summary so they can see the summary from the 3 individuals who did the technical review,
Okay.
Yep, and then the 3
the actual
actual
proposals.
proposals. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I just kind of like to have that. I would
No,
like to have to know I
you're-
just made a decision, because
You're
I
spot
also
on.
have my number one rank I could make today.
Yep.
Fred, did you have something you wanted to address with us or anything?
Fred Leonardo, Community Development Director. No, I think they all seem qualified, so I don't have anything particular to add to the committee, sorry.
Have you worked with any of these?
I will say Smook has been in, I'm sorry.
No, no, no.
Uh,
We'll leave it
My
at that then. We're not endorsing anybody here through any town agency or anything. Right, right.
I have one more question as I was listening to everybody. They kept bringing up the historical thing. Are we in, I guess I need a clarification. Is this building in the historic district? And do we have to deal with the historic commission?
No, it's not historical, is it?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Fred can.
So I can answer that question. Depending on the age of the structure, I haven't aged it, but if it's prior to 1950, it would, if you were going to partially demolish it or fully demolish it, you would have to go through a historical commission, which could put a delay of 9+ months on the project, should they find it to be
That's why I
historically
wanted to know that,
significant.
'cause
So if we kept the front door, we'd be all set.
You, no, Mr. Story, I think you missed the part about if you partially demolish this. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes.
Thanks, Fred.
All right. I guess, is there, I don't think we have anything on the community center. Is there anything going on there, Jen?
So the RFQ for the architect is out there. I think they just did a tour the other day. So we're moving through that process, and we'll keep you updated as there's more to come. More comes in.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I was told that there were going to be public meetings to talk about what was going to go on with that building.
Yeah, so once we have the architect in place, those meetings will happen, probably, definitely over the summer.
Yeah, they'll be coordinating those meetings. That's part of the request for them is the public engagement and multiple meetings.
Right. And I believe at some point we talked about possibly opening up the country club for people to come in and do tours if they want to see what's inside also.
Yep.
That'll help.
I
that'll
still
also-
endorse that.
Right, yeah, that'll also help the architect in hopefully determining, get input from the town. Okay. I don't think we have anything on the Forbes to close out. We talked to Christie about that before. That's still,
I think it's still,
I don't have any knowledge.
yeah.
I think it's still where it was last
We're
meeting.
just, that's status quo on that. Okay, we picked the next meeting date, which was, that's the 13th, 8 AM in this room here. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Yeah, everybody, thanks for the connection.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah, we'll probably